All right, good evening, you guys. It's Monday already, and we'll go ahead and get started. See if we have any questions. Last couple of days, we've kind of what I call family discussion. Pastor talking to us about the son, and really what he's done. It's tied up everything that we've talked about, even the adventure that the journey we've taken with looking a closer look at Egypt and Kemet and the Mayat laws of Mayat, principles of Mayat, and some of those things. He's really just kind of tied all those things together uh, last couple of days. So, uh, any questions for any of you that may have been on yesterday or Saturday? Any questions and or comments? Or if there's something else that may have grabbed your attention? Okay.
Ron, this is Valerie. I have a question.
Hey, Valerie, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Good. It's coming from Genesis in the third chapter. Now, after they had eaten of the fruit, and it says their eyes became open. Before their eyes became open, what would they see? They were seeing through their eye.
Good question. Anybody given any thought to that?
Well, we read the whole verse, please.
Okay. Give me a moment. Okay. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings.
That is definitely a metaphor, but I need to look at it a moment, okay? Unless someone else
Okay.
sees it. Is there someone else who sees it? Please let us know. Well, you can move on unless you're looking it up.
Yeah, I'm looking at something because we've talked about this before, and I'm trying to remember what we said uh, about the pleasant to the eyes. She saw that it was pleasant to the eyes. I can't remember. It's been a while. I'd have to look at my notes. But now we got you. We're going to come back to it. Is there anyone else? Any other questions, comments? Okay. Um, I had something too, probably a little similar to this that I was hoping to get some gain a conversation from. Uh, just listening to what Pastor said the other day when he was talking about the sun and the connection with life, the sun and life, and I just kind of saw something. I think metaphorically again in Genesis 1. Uh, and mine goes like this. And again, as we're looking at Val's question in Genesis 3, this one I really don't have answers to either. And I think there is a connection. Genesis 1, starting with verse 3, says, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day. And the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And if you look at verse 8, it says, and God called the firmament in heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day, and so on and so on. The one thing I don't think we've ever talked about or looked at is these days are never ending, sort of. Or what do I mean by that? One day does not end. It's like midnight tonight. To us, Monday ends. But these are building blocks. These are things that are accumulating something more. So if I go to elementary school, I learn the things that will help me in middle school. I don't forget what I learned in middle school. I take the things that I learned in elementary school, and in middle school, I take that to high school, and so forth and so on. So these days, I mean, these so-called days that we look at are spiritual concepts that are growing inside of us that are never ending. They never go away. And you see that because the number 7 means to be full. The number 7 never closed. It is perpetual. So if 8 is new beginning, is 8 or pulling from the fullness of 7, then the rest of the days also are never go away. They just build something on top of the other one. So looking at that, the thing that caught my eye the other day when Pastor was talking, the evening and the morning were the first day, the evening and the morning were the second day. Well, evening is not followed by morning. So we know that there's something more that is being said there. So, and I listened to what he was saying about life, and I can't remember. I should have tried to go back and listen to it again and write it down. But what I was seeing in this is it possible that the darkness that comes between evening and morning is dependent on you and your desires and how much you want to search and build this life. So the sun is the life, but it is up to you to pursue it. It is up to you to make the life. It is up to you to seek enlightenment. So my darkness may be darker than Audra's darkness, or maybe you don't have to go through darkness at all. So that just kind of stood out to me looking at this metaphorically. If you can pull it together with what Pastor was talking about the other day, when he opened that up about the sun. So just something else that I thought was kind of interesting. Anybody else? Anybody have a thought on either one of those things? Either the third chapter from Val's question, or anything that in Genesis 1?
I'm kind of agreeing with you, Ron. But I also see it as the darkness. Everybody has darkness, like you said, but I also see each new rising of the sun as a new opportunity
Yeah.
to gain insight, to have an opportunity to search for more spiritual things. It's just an opportunity every time.
Yeah. And I agree, Audrey. I even if you're not searching for spiritual things, even the practical part of it, you're gonna hit the sunlight. The sun shines on everybody. So that you get more opportunities daily. If you're looking at it from a purely physical or earthly perspective, but from a spiritual perspective, I think we have opportunity to not necessarily be in the darkness as long, or maybe to help others to see wisdom bringing out of the darkness so others won't be in it as long. I think it's more of, what are you building? What are you making as you, the evening and the morning? What is it? What is your level of understanding? Where are you spiritually? So when you get to the 6th day, when you get to the 7th day, what is it that you see? What is it that you have become through the enlightenment that you see? And I agree with you. We get opportunities, but I think this is saying that we have opportunity to hasten those, and even kind of hasten those for other people as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that also 8, new beginning, gives you an opportunity to make corrections.
Yeah.
It gives you opportunities to know that, or to remind you rather, that your new beginning, you make a choice how it ends. In your new beginning, you can continue along the lines that you always have, and you'll still be unaware of who you are. If you raise questions and diligently seek answers to those questions, then your view begins to change. Because when I look at what happened in Genesis 1, what I see is confusion is not spiritual at all. I see the darkness. I look beyond that. I see that it's not darkness. Darkness is not confusion. Confusion is a state of mind, not the status of your soul. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wisdom, darkness is wisdom. And the reason this new beginning is spoken of is because we have a continuous opportunity to seek to understand that wisdom, or to become aware of that wisdom. The light that was separated from the darkness is the enlightenment that was separated from the wisdom. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Because wisdom appears to those who process with their mind and see with their eyes. Wisdom appears to be chaotic, but it really isn't. For example, the things that we've been talking about the last couple of days, they are predicated on wisdom, are they not?
Mhm.
So if we were to take those same things that we were talking about and speak to people in other quote unquote congregations, they would be confused, wouldn't they? So
Mhm.
that confusion is not spiritual. The only reason that we are confused is because of what we have received from this natural world. For example, you look at the scriptures. We saw in the scriptures where the scriptures are um, come on, help me. They are allegory.
Mhm.
So if you know that they are allegories, then if you start talking to someone and tell them that Abraham never existed, to them that's confusion.
Yeah.
So why is the confusion? Because the natural mind, this material world, has made um, the allegory fit within the boundaries of this world by virtue of making an effort to teach it as being historical. Therein lies the confusion, isn't it? So the confusion did not come from the spiritual. The confusion came from the material or the mindset that it has determined that it's going to interpret or translate the spiritual book in physical terms.
But isn't the mindset part of the journey? Isn't the the changing the mindset a part of this whole process?
Yes, it is. But what I'm saying is this: the mindset that we had before we started this journey was a mindset that was solely based in the spiritual world. I mean, in this natural world,
Mm-hmm.
because we believed in hell, and there's no need of any of us denying the fact that we have believed in heaven and hell as it has been presented to us, and that is a product of the natural mind and not the spiritual world. Does that make sense?
It does.
So if it's a product of the natural mind, then and is chaotic, then that means that spirituality is not chaotic. The spirit is not chaotic. The spiritual wisdom is not chaotic. Why? Because when you apply the spiritual wisdom to that, what do you get? You begin to understand that heaven is enlightenment and hell are the things that keeps us in bondage and blinds us to an awareness of who we are spiritually. That is the chaos, isn't it? So the interpretation or translation of the book has put us in a state of chaos. And now that we are understanding the wisdom of it, we are beginning to see the order of the spiritual realm. Does that make sense?
You are saying it in a much different way than I am, but I think we're saying the same thing. Um, what I'm saying is, when we first started this journey, looking, if you want to call that the first day, it didn't make a lot of sense, and we tried to make sense of it. And as you said, we have very, very elementary understanding of heaven and earth and what that even meant. And especially that part that said, talked about the void, that has puzzled me, had puzzled me for years. So by the time, if you look at that, if the journey is by the time we are, let's say now on the seventh day, uh, what started off as confusion and unknowing was your first building block. It was your first supposition. It was your first desire to know. If there wasn't confusing, there is no desire to know what is really there. So I'm saying the days are the building blocks or the part of the journey that has brought us here. And what we have done is what I was linking it to was you're talking about the sun and the sun being life, but I'm not saying physical life. I'm the life that you were the thing you were calling life. I'm calling enlightenment. And the evening and the morning, it may have been on that first day a very dark period, but by the seventh day, you have learned to see what is in the darkness. And not only have you learned to see what's in the darkness, you're at the place where it doesn't bring fear anymore, and you can bring understanding to other people. So the journey may start off bleak, but the seventh day represents your fullness. Seventh day represents a place of understanding and being able to understand the light from the darkness and what that means and even what it looks like. Am I close to what you were saying, or is that way off?
Not way off at all. What I propose is that we look at the chapter of Genesis in conjunction with what was created on that quote unquote day, right?
Yeah.
And what day was it? If it was the second day, what does two mean in relationship to what was created? And that will give us an understanding of the spiritual essence of what's being said here.
Yes, I agree.
And I further see that the simplicity of the journey of Jesus, right? When we talked about that day before yesterday, I believe it was, in terms of Heru, the journey was more simplistic than the journey of Jesus is in terms of explaining the way it's written in the Bible.
Mm.
The way it's written in the Bible, nobody knows Jesus. Because the way it's written in the Bible, and the way it's taught from the Bible is that Jesus is 100% God, right? And 100% man. And that you can't do what Jesus did because you are not God. Therein lies the confusion. So if we were to take Genesis and look at it the same way, then at some point, and I do indeed intend to do this in a more simplified way, is to look at the creation through the eye of Osiris, or through the eye of Ptah. What am I saying? Everything in the Bible is a reenactment or a rewriting of what took place in Kemet, just like the story of Jesus, just like the creation itself, all of these things, right? So suppose for a moment that the depth of the misunderstandings about the creation in Genesis, suppose for a moment that can be clarified or more easily understood if we take it and compare it to the creation according to Kemet. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Because that scripture says, it does not say in the beginning. It says, Bereshit bara Elohim, beginning created Elohim. That's what it says. And when it talks about the earth being void and without form, that's speaking to the existence of matter that had not yet been formed into anything. And if we look at, and I'm not going into that tonight, but if we look at that in relationship to Kemet, that is exactly the creation story. From and I say Kemet because I'm talking about the holy place where people went to understand who they are. So we look at it from that perspective, I think it would be simpler than it is from what we are looking at right now. Does that make sense?
And I think it may even be the creator's intent, the way this has all been presented to us.
Yeah.
So I think we are supposed to use them that way, use the writings that way from both writings,
Because when I look at it, what happened? This whole first chapter of Genesis is totally, totally misunderstood. Because when people read it, what do they end up with? They end up with the Greco-Roman understanding of what was written. And when the Catholics did it, they simply just pulled together from the scroll. What did they do? They said day 1, day 2, day, etc. Right? What are people believing? That the whole earth was created in 6 days. In the 7th day, he rested. Is that not what we've been taught? So that is totally different. I mean, totally wrong. So this whole concept of day, suppose when it says that, when it says day, suppose it's talking about the availability of enlightenment based upon the hidden meanings of what was created on it.
Yeah. It is talking about enlightenment. Yeah, we've looked at that partially, as much as we knew how. But yeah, I agree with that.
So the hidden meanings then would be in what was created as well as what the number means.
Hey, Rhea. Hey, Charles. If you're saying this is spiritual, I know. Okay, as it was saying,
I'm just yawning.
698, would you please?
Oh.
Go ahead, Charles.
What is a day? What I'm trying to figure out, what is a day?
Okay.
I mean, you understand a day, you understand it now.
That's
But
what
got to day?
That's what we're doing. The point of the matter is this. It is difficult for us to wrap our mind around what day actually is from a spiritual perspective, because we have been inundated with a false understanding of what the scriptures are saying. So we have been struggling with this thing called day because we know that this thing called day in the spiritual sense is not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We know that. Now, exactly what it is, I think we are still struggling with understanding what it means. So I cannot respond to that, Charles, and give you at least a reasonable answer without doing more investigation as to what it really means based upon where it originated from. Because
Okay,
Yom is day.
I can
Or what does it really mean?
accept that.
And thank
So,
you.
what we're talking about now in this word, that darkness means wisdom and light mean understanding, and light mean understanding.
Yes. We know that, Charles.
Say what?
Know that. Let me share with you for a moment, if I may.
All right.
We are very much aware of these meanings and understandings. We just are not aware when we express them, because we say things like, "You kept me in the dark," which means that you have not explained it to me, right? Or we say, "I'll shed some light on that." In other words, enlighten me. Where are these terms coming from? They are coming from the deep memories in our spiritual DNA about where we came from and what we understood before we were brought into this space and forced to believe a earth conscious a European consciousness about the scriptures, as opposed to the spiritual awareness of the scripture. Our awareness has not gone anyplace. We are just uncovering it now because it's buried under all of this other stuff. And I'm not going to call it junk, because it's not. It's buried under all this other stuff. And we have an obligation to make every effort to dig beneath the other stuff to see what's there. So when we make a statement about enlightenment, we don't think about, we are talking about spiritual thing, or that's what we are talking about when we say enlightenment. But we made application to it, to everything that we come in contact by saying enlightenment. Am I making sense, guys?
Yes, you're making sense.
So
that right there, that right there is dealing with our ancestors, ain't it?
The other, well, it is and it isn't. And the reason I say that is because when it comes to our ancestors, we have been in denial about that. And even when we were not in denial about it, we were ignorant as to how our relationship with the ancestors functioned. Now we're beginning to get clarity on that, are we not? I mean, we were all confused about Jesus until we began to look at it from a perspective of an allegory, as opposed to looking at it from a historical perspective. So I'm going to say this, and I think all of you probably will agree with this, that number one, we haven't even scratched the surface of understanding.
Yeah, yeah.
Number two is the things that we think we understand, we are still struggling with understanding them. because there's always something else. So I solicit you to bear with us as we endeavor to understand as much of truth as our Creator intends for us to understand from moment to moment.
As a matter of fact, I think it's pretty evident. I mean, it seems like to me anyway, the more stuff we uncover, the more stuff we see, the more stuff we don't see. I mean,
Yes.
look at how many times we revisit stuff that you thought you saw something, and you're like, wait a minute, what about this? What about that? Like, for example, Genesis 1, you notice it says, the first verse says, God, and then God, in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. It never mentions heaven again.
No.
It never mentions it again. Again, I think I saw a glimpse of something when you were talking the other day, and that's what makes me come back to this. I think this is talking about the energy to do whatever needs to be done in the earth.
And that's like,
And the just like you were mentioning the sun and the oneness with nature and understanding how all of that works together. This to me is saying the same thing. The oneness of everything that was created, including the heavens. If you could look at the heavens, not to worship it like some have done with the sun, but recognizing that this is my source of enlightenment, or this is my source of the energy that I seek to get. So do I see this? No, but it just kind of came to me when you were talking about this the other day.
the whole idea about heaven, the reason it was not mentioned anymore, because there was no need. In the beginning, light was created. Enlightenment, the opportunity for enlightenment, the energy that's necessary for enlightenment was brought into existence. And it was birthed by wisdom. It came out of the womb of wisdom. Wisdom is dark because it is a womb with seeds of enlightenment in it. And when we begin to understand wisdom, that is speaking to the light. So heaven, every time we Shemayim is heaven, which is light or enlightenment. So every time we get an understanding, heaven is being realized in that we've been enlightened. Does that make sense? So we are at a place in a space where, let me put it this way, we're in the 8th day. The moment that we were able to see the understanding of the SUN instead of the SON, that was our 8th day. So now we have been given the privileged opportunity to actually move beyond, Ron, you muted, to move beyond.
I was just going to ask you to go into more explanation of the 8th day in case somebody missed that discussion.
Okay, the 8th day, the idea of new beginning, right? Mm-hmm. When you're traveling a spiritual journey, your new beginning does not mean that you go all the way back to the beginning and come up through on the same road, for lack of a better understanding. It means that it is as you said earlier, a continuation of the journey. When you gave the example of school. So the 8th day is a continuation it's like graduating from high school and going to college.
Yeah.
So it is a continuation of the experience. And I believe that the continuation of the experience was introduced to us by virtue of showing us that Jesus is not, Jesus, as we've been taught, is not what that story is about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I do believe that we are at this beginning point. Now, one of the reasons I also believe that we have been stunned or stuck with Val's question is because it is a reminder that what we said before, what we thought we knew is not what it is.
Yeah.
It is a piece of it, but it's not a clear understanding of it. Because when we talked about Jesus, we started getting a clear understanding of the SUN as opposed to the SON. And now we see that differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We see it differently. So here we are at a place where we are going to look at Genesis through the eyes of Ptah, as opposed to through the eyes of Catholicism. It would be a heck of a lot easier if we had access to the writings that are in museums, like in England or the museums in France, but we don't have that. So what we do have is the guidance of the ancestors. That's what we do have. And I will share this with you. The things that I have been talking about for the last few days were presented to me after I had spent time consulting with the ancestors. Before that, none of this was presented to me. But there were days, there were nights I would sit and light my candles and meditate and commune with the ancestors. And as a result of that, this was presented. You see where I'm coming from? So that in itself says to me that all of these understandings are available. We just have to be still and know that we are Elohim. And because we are Elohim, we have the memories of the creation of who we are. It's just clouded by the material world or the consciousness of earth. I'm going to say something that's may sound real crazy to you. Suppose I were to tell you that Jesus knew, or the essence of the concept knew, that light is indeed Elohim, right? We are in this earth and we are doing something that our Creator has never done and never will do. Do you know what that is? Our Creator has never occupied a physical body. The greater things, what we are doing in these bodies, what we are doing is actually creative, godly things, for lack of a better, that's a poor choice of word, but I don't have another one right now. In this state it's in this state that we are in. Our Creator does not have the mindset that we have. Our Creator sees clearly everything, does he not? The one who created us sees everything clearly. Yet we are just as our Creator is, and we don't see things clearly. The journey to see things clearly and to bring the mind to a place where it is in concert with the soul is something that our Creator never did and never will do. And the reason it will never do it is because it said, you do it. This is yours. You have dominion. So you're going to do this. You have the same attributes that I have, yet you're different than I am because you are in a physical body and you have all of these competing thoughts, and you are going to have to put them in order, and so that the place where you are, the realm of the earth, the consciousness of the earth, will be the same way things are in the spiritual world. And when that happens, the Creator is saying, and when that happens, I will be able to experience through you what it is like to have been in a physical body. I will experience your energy. Does that make sense? If not, please ask questions. And I know it may sound to you like I've gone off the deep end, but that's not the first time that I've felt like I've gone off the deep end. But I always have a parachute before I hit the ground. So I firmly believe that we are in a very unique place. But this is not a place, hear me well, this is not a place that the human has not visited before.
You said before?
Yeah, before now.
Okay.
The human has visited this space, and we can see that by the mysticism that blankets Kemet. How did they do the things that they did without having understood how to use the energy, which is spirit, for the benefits of humanity? Where did Imhotep get his knowledge of botany, architecture, his knowledge of the human body? Where did he get that from? So what I'm saying is that nothing is new under the sun. So we are in a space right now where we have the opportunity to experience what was experienced then, yet with a continuation of it, as opposed to it being halted or stymied by an invasion. The invasion, and when we talk about Alexander the Greek and his invasion, we'll begin to understand how this society, our society, was stymied. And now we are not rebuilding the society. We are doing a continuation because our responsibility is to create in the image and likeness, meaning that the resistance to divinity must be overcome by the light that we are being shown. What we have experienced in church is not divinity. Christianity is not divinity, knows nothing about divinity. Yet, through it all, we have come through with the imprint of divinity that raises its head from time to time. And now, since we've been traveling the journey more so than ever before, we are being shown what it looks like. And I don't mean with the eyes. We are being shown what it looks like. And the more we delve into the understandings, the more we are able to create a mindset in this earth that is guided by the soul, not just for the African, but for everyone on this earth. I'm going to take you a step further. We talked about the beginning being in Southeast Africa, and the Twa Umbuji being the first people. And that's real. That's really real. But even then, the Twa Umbuji had to walk from its space of creation to the space where it began to understand the energy and power of the universe. And understanding that, it was then that the recognition that we are God, we are Elohim, was shown by virtue of all of humanity that came into existence as a result of the Twa Umbuji people. Everybody on earth, during those 4 million years, all of this was taking place. So the birth of all the humans came from Twa Umbuji. But along with that birth also came the controversies that gave birth to all the isms that we are confronted with now. And all of those things that we are confronted with were necessary so that we could create in the image of and likeness of loving kindness, forgiveness, etc. Without those controversial or that chaotic thought process that murders thought process, without that, we would not be on this journey. In order for you to know what order is, you have to also know what chaos is. Do you not? Yeah. So the chaos has been brought to us for us to do what we are doing. I don't believe for a moment that the Creator allowed us to be brought to this country and other countries as enslaved people because he was upset with us. I believe it was done for the express purpose of bringing into existence the chaotic house of unrighteousness in one place, so that this centralized energy, this centralized barbaric energy that rules the world. If you don't think America rules the world, then you will not keep up with, you don't know anything about how this works. We are in this centralized place. Why? Because when the energy is repurposed, because of the journey that we are on, the same tentacles that has kept the world in fear and bondage will be transformed. And those tentacles will become a source of enlightenment and deliverance. And that is the reason we are being shown, or we are being given an understanding of what centralized spirituality looks like. Centralized spirituality was experienced in Kemet.
Pastor, you're on
You're
mute.
muted.
This centralized chaos is to be brought to order by the centralized energy that came from the Twa Umbuti people. It doesn't matter whether you call them Egyptians, Cushites, everyone on this earth is Twa Umbuti. Because that's where we came from. No matter what, you can call yourself Caucasian, Japanese, it doesn't matter. You're Twa Umbuti. And when we embrace that, then our eye will be open even more so to see the spiritual energy that brought that society into existence for hundreds of thousands of years. And when that is done, then this earth will experience something. As above, so is below. Am I making sense, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. We have an awesome task because the adversary that makes it so difficult to repurpose this energy for the benefit of humanity is not the European. The European has done its job. It is the African preacher who's doing the job of the European by continuing the course of following the lies that's been taught through Christianity. African preachers are overseers of the bondage that the rest of us are experiencing. The desire is to open the eye of the people if the overseers do not want to open the eye. This whole thing came as a result of Alexander appointing kings of the different areas in northeastern Africa because he knew he was going to die. And in doing so, solicited the priests to undo or to deculturalize the African. The African priests are the ones who sold the idea of deculturalizing us to the people and made sure that anyone who did not abide by the edicts that were handed down was put to death. What am I saying to you? Nothing new under the sun. The same thing that happened in 95 BCE is the same thing that we are facing now. There is no way that the Greeks would have been able to sustain themselves after that invasion if it had not been for co-opting the African priests to do their biddings. And Christianity has co-opted the African priests to do its bidding. And its bidding has always brought chaos instead of order. And it will continue to do that until we not make the difference, until we are the difference. And that difference that we must be is the embodiment of everything that was in Kemet in terms of the energy, the spiritual essence that was in Kemet prior to the invasion. When we talk about you can't change anyone until you change yourself, what are we saying? You don't have access or an understanding or an awareness of the spiritual power of the energy that's necessary to bring about change for humanity if that same energy has not brought about change in you. It does not come by osmosis. It does not come by being taught. It comes by your desire to receive what's being taught. If you believe a thing is true, then it will change the journey of your life. When we teach, it is not up to us to change your life. It's up to you. If you believe it, if it really resonates with you, then your life's journey should be different than what it was before you received an understanding or an awareness of who we are. Is that clear? It's important that we embrace this. Think about it this way. When we talked about Heru in relationship to Jesus, how did we get people to open their eye to that? By talking about the same thing that was written about Heru is what was written about Jesus. Exactly the same thing and thousands of years apart. 3 years ago, the majority of the people on the phone would have rejected it because it was too far out there based upon the Christianity that we have been given. But because the energy that's in the macro is more prevalent than what it was 2 years ago, it was much easier for them to digest it and to embrace it, even without understanding it clear enough to talk about it, even without understanding the nature of it, but knowing that it resonates. When we talk about something resonating, we are talking about something that's being awakened. Hold on 1 second, please. We are talking about something that's being awakened within us. That's what resonation means. It awakens something in you, and that something that you awaken is the spiritual DNA that you've had since the beginning. Nothing can rid you of this DNA, this memory, this awareness. Nothing can do that. It may cover it, but it won't do it. It will not. It will not. Everyone said that we can't die. We cannot. We will never be separated from the energy of who we are. I'm going to read something to you. I've been reading this book, and something happened. And I want to read it to illustrate what I'm trying to say to you. In Haiti, when the enslaved people were coming together to plan the revolution, this is what the priest said to those who represented the different plantations in Haiti. The good Lord who created the sun, which gives us light from above, who rouses the sea and makes the thunder roar. Listen well, all of you. This God, hidden in the clouds, watches us. He sees all that white man does. The God of the white man calls him to commit crimes. Our God asks for our good deeds. How is it that in 1791, that the Haitians were saying, the God that you gave us is not our God? They knew, and they depended on that. And as a result of that, that's the only successful slave revolt in the history of enslavement. So where did that energy come from? Well, it goes on to talk about how they commune with the ancestors. So I read that passage because I want us to see there has never been a time frame when we did not know. We were just ignorant of it because we're too educated. We got all this intellectual stuff in us, but there's never been a time when we did not know that the God that was presented to us by the white man is not the God that we serve. We always known that. But we did not know how to put it in words, and we were afraid to say it because we did not want to be condemned as heathens and charged with blasphemy. Now what we see is this. Even Christianity is not blasphemy. Even though it's a lie, it's not blasphemy. Do you know why it's not blasphemy? Blasphemy is when you consciously separate yourself from the power, meaning that you consciously say that there is no creator, there is no energy, there's no power except who I am. I am the power. I am everything that is. The reason Christianity is not blasphemous is because it has never known anything about the power. It is ignorant about all of that. All of those scrolls that's in the dungeons of the Vatican, they don't know they don't know one thing about them. Not one doggone thing do they understand. Our obligation is simple. Change yourself. Open yourself up even more. If we could get 20% of the African preachers to open their eye and study for themselves, open their hearts, and give opportunity for this energy to bathe them, we would have change almost immediately. But because of prestige and money, they won't do it. They won't do it. So it's up to us to do it. Questions, comments? I'm done.
Good evening, Pastor. Everyone hear me?
Speak a little bit louder, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Good evening.
Okay,
Can
there
you
you
hear
go.
me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is George. I mean, a lot has been said, and I'm really, just grasping it in my spirit and just trying to now say what I'm feeling in my spirit. And as you talked about the SUN, and we looked at the beginning in terms of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, I'm believing that this beginning is a womb seed in the blackness of the dark universe. And in Genesis chapter verse 2, when it says, and the light was formless and void, and the darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. We talked about water. We talked about matter. And I'm just was trying to reflect on, in terms of me seeing it in my perception, that when you think about the birth of a child, the child is in the mother's womb. I mean, is in darkness, matter. That the fluids. And as I think about it, and we talk about, darkness in terms of how some people seeing it as being confusion, but that's just the spirit of the spiritual evolution manifesting in a physical evolution. And I think that trying to, understand it, we are now moving into that realm where we're understanding the importance of the cosmic universal matter, as you say, are so above, so below. And so it is that womb seed that it is important that we're understanding, or I'm understanding in terms of, the dark universe, or in terms of that blackness. So what does it mean in terms of us talking about the spiritual meaning of the number 8? It talks about that spiritual vibration of self-enlightenment through right actions and right livelihood. What is right actions? What's right livelihood? Is seeking the truth, being able to come into that understanding, not from our, like you say, our intellect, but what do you see? What do you experience when you see the birth of a child? And I won't like go into detail, but I was really blessed to see my son's birth, not just from a physical perspective, but being able to be in that place and space where spiritually I saw so much more that words can't even explain. So I'm just trying to look at this when we talk about it with regards to the SUN and the organic life, because there is that matter that is cosmic universal matter. There's that matter that is earthly matter. And then we talk about the organic matter of the feminine amniotic fluids and the semen and all of those things, Pastor, that makes me realize that spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spiritually. So it's the spiritual, involution that I just wanted to share those thoughts, and hopefully that resonates with what was being said. But I see, Ron, as you was teaching on Genesis, I'm looking at it now from the African theory of the origin of the cosmic universe. I'm done, Pastor and Ron. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. The work that must be done for us to understand the first writings of creation is tedious. Because for those of you who have looked at the writings, and we talked about the Shabaka stone, it's on the Shabaka stone are the principles of Mayat, the moral principles that we live by. But there's much more there. The intricate writings of how the universe developed, how the life on the earth developed, all of that's on that stone. We don't need to understand all of that in order for us to bring the energy of creation to the presence of the people to the extent that they can become aware of it. But what we do need is to understand it in relationship to what we've been taught. That's what we need. We don't need all the intricate, because on the Shabaka stone writes about botany and archaeology and it writes physiology, anatomy, all of that's on the Shabaka stone. We don't need it. We need the foundation of creation to compare with the foundation of creation that we've been given. And that's tedious to bring that to light. But guess what? It must be done, and we're going to do it. It's just that simple. And then we will see more clearly what George is talking about when he talks about the womb seed. I'm done, unless there's something else or other questions.
I have a suggestion. If this is okay with Pastor and the teachers, what I'd like to do, Val, if Val is still on, is I'll text all the teachers that scripture in chapter 3, so we can all look at it and pull our heads together next weekend, if that's okay.
Val, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, the only issue is Saturday, this coming Saturday, I'm going to be at Upstate with some of our students.
Okay.
Okay. Well, once we do it, Val, then you can actually go to YouTube and listen, right?
Okay.
Okay. And if we don't get to it, then we don't. We'll get to it when we do, whether it's Sunday or Monday, okay?
Okay.
All right. Just as we leave, The reason we miss each other so much is because we grew up in communities. We are a community. And there's a strength that the African draws from its family structures. I know that, y'all know that. We miss each other because we are accustomed to interacting with our community. It doesn't matter that we see each other electronically. It's the energy of proximity that we miss. Because we are community entities. And at some point, the weather breaks. We are going to have to come together. This is no different than the babies that I experienced in Haiti, who 200 plus babies and 2 nuns watching them. All of them are HIV positive, and they're crying, and the nun saying they're crying because they want to be touched. And we walk through there and pick them up, and they stop crying. We need to be touched. We need to be touched. Christmas, my brother, my sister, we have never been separated from each other during that period of the year, ever, in our whole life. Our family, they did not come together anytime, it was during that period. And this year, we didn't do it. And all of us like to lost our mind. That's community. Do you see what I'm talking about? We need each other. We need each other's presence. And I'm going to do everything in my power to bring us together. I really am. And I solicit your assistance in doing it. If you come up with a way that we can do it quickly, that's fine. Because the weather's up and down. So I just want us at some point to be together. That's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone, final thoughts, questions? Another good evening. I hope everybody have a great week. And look forward to seeing you on Saturday morning. Thanks again, everybody.
Okay.
Look,
Have a great evening.
Rem Richard.
Yes,
Rem
we-
Richard. Are they on tonight? Are they on tonight? The other
No, that's next Monday.
next Monday. Oh, okay.
Next Monday.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. Enjoy your week, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.